Okay, topic 4 is capital punishment. Okay, now, if you're on this one, you could be asked, describe Catholic views on capital punishment, explain Catholic and Jewish views, and then it could come up as an evaluation question about whether what's called capital punishment should ever be allowed or not. So you need to know some non-religious views as well. So, looking at the Catholic views on capital punishment. Now, here, there are a minority of Catholics who are okay accepting of capital punishment, all right? So you need to make sure that's established in your answer. But the general view, the majority view, is that they don't agree with it, okay? Now, some Catholics, and let's just focus on that minority first of all, that they think capital punishment can be okay for retribution as a deterrent. The Bible teaches what's called eye for an eye. Okay, so it's saying that if you take someone's life, then you can lose your life as well. I don't know about you, all right? That would act as a deterrent to me, all right? I don't fancy getting killed. All right, so that's the sort of the small view. However, in general, the Catholic Church is against capital punishment. Okay, now the reason for that, all right, is that Jesus says we should always seek to forgive. Well, you can't forgive a dead person. Okay, and as a result of that, it was called the teaching they use for this is to forgive not 7 times but 77 times. Now, additionally to that, all right, Jesus also taught that we should not pay back evil with evil. All right, so we should allow people to be able to change. All right, that links again with the idea of rehabilitation. So obviously capital punishment doesn't allow that. The modern day church also criticises it, says it doesn't work as a deterrent. Okay, Pope Francis has openly come out and criticised it, as well as he's pointing to examples about the fact that in states in America where they do allow capital punishment, that the murder rate is actually higher than the ones that don't, which I personally find quite surprising. Now, the final one, okay, is that it links with the sanctity of life. Only God decides when life ends, okay? So human beings are capable of making mistakes, okay, so that we shouldn't take someone's life. So, for example, there have been 123 cases in America that someone has been put on death row, but there's then been found to be guilty, all right? And obviously that would be 123 innocent lives that were taken, all right? There's also a Welsh example, okay, that you can use there, who's what's called Mahmoud Matan, all right, who is this is somebody who was hanged in Cardiff for a murder he didn't commit. So if you remember that would be great. Okay, so all the WJC Welsh lot would like that. Now, explain Catholic views, Catholic and Jewish views on capital punishment. All right, that when it comes to introduction here, you want to be talking about the fact it doesn't fulfill the 4 aims of punishment. Okay, in particular, they'd argue that it doesn't obviously allow for reform or act as a deterrent was called effectively. All right, so evidence of this to support their views is found in the Old Testament and New Testament, as well as in other church teaching. Okay, so the main sort of thing you want to say here, okay, is that you use the Pope's teaching. Okay, Pope Francis coming out and criticising it, saying that the murder rates are higher in states that allow capital punishment. Okay, and the other thing is, I'd really focus on your paragraph, is about reform, is making sure that you mention about that, because that's the key one. How can you reform? A person can't reform if they are dead, okay? So for that reason, that's one of the big reasons why Catholics reject it. And you can link that the idea of free will, also not pay back evil with evil, which means don't pay back murder with murder, all right? So instead, they'd be talking about how we should rehabilitate these people. Still punish them, of course, all right? But instead, it shouldn't be through capital punishment. When it comes to the Jewish view, okay, that most Jews would disagree with capital punishment. However, Jewish teaching does seem to suggest that it might be okay. So it's almost like there's been a compromise, all right, that has been found that keeps everybody happy. Okay, and I'll get into that in just a second. So the first one, okay, that the Torah states that punishment for crime should be proportionate. Okay, so an eye for an eye suggests that the punishment must commit the crime, must fit the crime, I apologise, okay? So, Jews wouldn't accept capital punishment unless it was to punish someone for taking a life, okay? So that's the first sort of angle. Additionally, you say Jewish teaching states that capital punishment could be considered acceptable for a person, what's called if they were unlikely to reform and in some certain circumstances, okay? So you could say about the fact that there has to be 2 independent witnesses to the crime. Okay, now these things are quite unlikely to happen, okay, with lots of crimes. So suggest that whilst Jewish teaching suggests that it should be allowed, that modern day Jews, that they would suggest that it doesn't actually take they don't really want it to take place, but at the same time they don't want to go against God's teaching, so therefore they've come to almost a compromise where it is that it doesn't break teachings, but at the same time that capital punishment, that they don't have to fully support it. Now, when it comes to non-religious views on the matter, okay, that on here we said about the reason there's 4 is it acts as the best deterrent. Now, that's because of fear. Me personally, okay, that I wouldn't want to lose my life. That would be the worst thing that can happen. All right, so for that reason, that's a natural human instinct to not want to lose their life, so therefore it acts as a good deterrent. All right, and that the impact of that is that these people may support in some of the states in America, like Texas, that allow it. However, you could, for the reason that it goes against it, you could look at the humanist view that says about the fact that that we should all be treated equally, okay, and that the government should protect their citizens, all right? You could say that the fact that we can't always be accurate, and you can link it back to the 123 people I said before, okay? But also that whilst humanists or non-religious people don't believe that life is sacred, they still value the importance of human life, so therefore it shouldn't be taken away if it wasn't necessary, okay?